Hello everyone, I'm Greg Otta with FedScoop TV, and we're here at the Red Hat Government Symposium, and I'm talking with Lars Hermann, the GM of the Integrated Solutions Business Unit for Red Hat. Lars, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So one of the themes of the symposium this year is everything from dev to ops. Talk to me about how you think Red Hat is positioned when it comes to DevOps in the public sector.
That's a great question. I would actually start with, if you define DevOps as more of a cultural phenomenon,
Right, okay.
of bringing people together and have them collaborate to achieve more results faster. That's what we do in open source development. So we actually live the same values in everything we do in how we develop software and technology and customer value.
Okay.
So therefore we know a lot of this. We bring all that knowledge about collaborative development, about the tools people need, but also how you bring people together around the globe or across
Right.
different skill sets, and we bake this into products. So Red Hat has an amazing portfolio to enable an organization to serve both developers and make them very productive, as well as the platforms that then can run these applications in production, and the tools to accelerate change, accelerate deployments, accelerate development cycles, so all that. So we're uniquely positioned because we have all that knowledge, we have the technologies, we have the products, and last but not least, we work with tens of thousands of customers around the world, so we actually gain a lot of insight as to what they need and what they value and how they can be more successful.
How does security factor into DevOps?
So security is a great one. I mean, in a more mechanical sense, DevOps is all about being able to drive change very fast and also do it incrementally. So that creates a very nice opportunity to factor security into that pipeline, if that makes sense. So if you have to take care of security issues, if you have a DevOps pipeline, you're probably in a better position to react fast and respond fast to vulnerabilities as they become known. On the flip side though, DevOps is all about creating distributed systems, and you optimize for each and every application. So there is an inherent challenge of knowing what your security risk actually is. And this is where we drive a lot of value around analytics-based systems, so to help customers knowing what risks do they actually have to tackle. A DevOps process then is very easy to handle that, but it starts from knowing where that begins. So it's a bit of a give and take, if that makes sense. But generally, we see that organizations that optimize for speed, optimize for incremental change, they will be in a lot better position to manage the security challenges ahead, because it's all about the same things. Respond, quest.
Interesting. So the new cool thing on the block, containers.
Yeah.
Talk to me about why agencies should look to adopt containers, and what, if any, are the barriers to entry?
Yep. So the why, let me take the why first. Containers lend themselves in a very, very compelling way to the key principles of what we talk about now in IT, which is on one hand, containers are very lightweight, and they allow you to, they enable flexibility. They enable development teams to make their own choices, independent of the underlying infrastructure. At the same time, they drive standardization into the environment. So they lend themselves very well to systems that can be automated or need to be automated.
Right.
So that, putting this all together, you enable flexibility for developers. You have a lightweight system in which you reduce the overall amount of weight and work you have to carry, and you can automate of this. This is what we talk about when we talk about distributed systems, DevOps. So it seems to be the ideal technology to that. Now, if you look at it more from an application perspective, the best practice nowadays for applications is to build microservices and have them loosely connected.
Right.
And containers is kind of the infrastructure paradigm that connects with microservices. Your microservice lives in a container, gets deployed in a container. So it is also very nicely matching to the application paradigm and the change we're seeing there in how applications are developed. Now, you asked about barriers. There certainly are a few. We see right now in the container space a lot of innovation happening, a lot of technologies still changing. And to some organizations, it can be overwhelming, because by the time you have finished a pilot, maybe the technologies have changed very significantly. So we help organizations very much to overcome the barriers in the area of the right tools and platforms. So we invested heavily in building enterprise-class platforms to develop and run container-based applications, from OpenShift or Platform as a Service, which now is a general purpose application platform, to the management tools you need to manage the lifecycle of applications, to scale the infrastructure and connect all the enterprise resources with your application and your infrastructure. So that certainly is a barrier. Another barrier we see is access to third-party components. One of the promises of containers is that you can basically consume a software artifact from, let's say, a software vendor or maybe a service provider in a very simple and also standardized way, which is actually true. If you look at like Docker, for example, one of the leading technologies there, comes with the ability to pull content from a repository. But that now creates a whole new set of challenges that enterprise is not necessarily well prepared for, because you're consuming software from a third party without necessarily knowing what is actually in there. So we talked about risk and security before. So there's a security angle to this. How can you trust a container? How can you know what's in there? And how can you know that if there ever would be an issue with that container, that you can actually fix that? At Red Hat, we've responded to this with introducing container certification.
Okay.
So ISVs can build their containers based on Red Hat products, can submit it to Red Hat for certification. So now for the enterprise or for the government sector, it becomes safe to consume these containers because they can now be considered trusted. And we also give them the tools to interact with these systems. So that's a barrier. And then I think last but not least, there's always the barrier of, hey, there's a new thing, and how do you get a new thing into your environment, which typically becomes a function of IT is already busy. They're already challenged with legacy and all the resources, all the applications they already have. What we actually see with organizations around the world is that containers do not only lend themselves well to the next generation of cloud-native applications, they also work very well with the existing applications. If you think of them more as a packaging and deployment paradigm, so you can start containerizing existing applications and build out infrastructure this way. It's actually a relatively sane way to adopt containerization because you're still operating within a space that you know, so you're not changing everything at the same time. And at the same time, you free up resources that then you can focus on driving more of that innovation into your environment. So that seems to be a best practice we see. And containers are uniquely positioned to help with that because they work both in the traditional world as well as in the emerging, shiny new object world.
Very, very interesting stuff about containers, Lars. Thanks for stopping by to talk with us about it.
You're welcome.
For more of our videos, you can check out our YouTube channel. And for more information, you can check out fedscoop.com. I'm Greg Otto. Thanks for watching.